Have you ever looked into a woman's eyes and felt like there was something she wasn't saying? Something hidden behind her calm smile and confident words. You felt she was strong, maybe even untouchable. But deep down, something told you. She had her own hidden vulnerabilities. Most men never see them. Not because women don't have weaknesses, but because women hide them with precision. They're emotional masters of disguise. But today, through the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius and the lens of Stoic philosophy, we'll uncover 5 hidden weaknesses that most women never want men to know. These aren't about manipulation, they're about understanding. Because when you understand a woman's hidden emotions, you stop being confused by her behavior and start responding with strength and calm, like a true Stoic. So before we begin, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this video and stay till the end, because what you'll learn here could completely change your love life. 1. The fear of losing emotional control. Let me take you into a story that might feel a little too close to home. There was a man named Armin. Calm, logical, grounded. At least that's how he saw himself. And then one day, he met her. You know the type. The kind of woman who walks into your life and suddenly, everything feels lighter, warmer, and terrifyingly real. They talked for hours that first night, about dreams, childhood, fears. She laughed easily, but every now and then her eyes would drift off, like she was guarding something deep. Over time, Armin began to notice it. She'd pull away right when things got closer. She'd disappear after a deep conversation, take hours to reply to texts that once came instantly, or suddenly say, "I just need space." Sound familiar? Every man who's truly loved has faced that strange moment when the woman who seemed open and warm suddenly becomes distant and unpredictable. It feels like she's playing games, right? But here's the truth. She isn't. She's protecting herself from something much deeper, the fear of losing emotional control. See, women feel everything more deeply than men. When they care with their whole heart. But when a woman starts falling for a man, something inside her shifts. She begins to lose control over her emotions, and that scares her more than she'll ever admit. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." And that's exactly what she's trying to do. Regain control of her mind when her heart is taking over. When she begins to love, her rational side says, "Stay calm, don't get too attached." But her emotions whisper, "He feels different. What if he's the one?" And that battle between her heart and her logic becomes her quiet storm. So she distances herself not because she stopped liking you, but because she's afraid of how much she likes you. She's afraid of feeling too much, caring too much, giving too much, because somewhere in her past, loving deeply meant getting hurt. Tell me honestly, have you ever felt that same fear? That feeling when you cared about someone so much, you couldn't sleep, couldn't think, couldn't breathe when they pulled away? That's exactly what she's trying to avoid. The Stoic man, the man Marcus Aurelius describes, doesn't panic when this happens. He doesn't chase, he doesn't argue. He simply observes. He remains grounded, calm, present, because he understands her emotions are not a test. They're a mirror of her fears. And the moment she realizes that your peace can handle her chaos, that you won't run when she shows her intensity, something magical happens. Her walls begin to fall. Her silence turns into trust. Her fear transforms into connection. That's the paradox of love. The moment you stop trying to control it, it begins to flow naturally. 2. The desire for validation. Let me tell you another story. One that might remind you of a woman you once loved. Her name was Sarah. Beautiful, confident, independent. The kind of woman who walks into a room and every head turns. Not because of what she wears, but because of how she carries herself. At first, Armin thought she didn't need anyone's approval. She was fierce, decisive, and seemed like she had life figured out. But over time, he began to notice little things that didn't make sense at first. She'd ask, "Do I look okay?" Even though she looked stunning. She'd post a picture online and then quietly check if he'd liked it. She'd grow distant if he didn't compliment her new hairstyle, even though she pretended not to care. And one night she asked something that stuck with him. "Do you ever think about me when I'm not around?" He smiled and said, "Of course I do." But deep inside, he realized something powerful. Even the strongest women crave validation. They just don't want to admit it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. That quote perfectly describes this hidden side of women. You see, women are emotional beings. They experience love and connection through feeling seen. When she gets ready, wears perfume, sends that thoughtful text, it's not about attention. It's about a simple question echoing in her heart. Does he still see me? But here's the paradox, and while she desires validation, she fears needing it. Because the moment she realizes her happiness depends on your attention, she feels vulnerable, dependent, weak. That's why she'll often pretend she doesn't care, and she'll say, "I don't need anyone's approval," while secretly hoping you'll notice the small details she changed just for you. Think back for a second. Have you ever loved a woman who'd act distant after you forgot to compliment her? Or one who suddenly posted more pictures online after you stopped texting as much? That wasn't vanity, that was her quiet cry for validation. But here's where the Stoic lesson comes in. A Stoic man doesn't feed her validation constantly. He gives it meaningfully. He understands that compliments without depth lose their value. When Marcus Aurelius said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts," he meant authenticity is what makes connection real. So instead of chasing her with empty flattery, a Stoic man makes his words rare and real. He looks her in the eyes and says, "I appreciate how you think," or "You have an energy that changes a room." That kind of validation goes deeper than looks. It touches her soul. When you give her genuine attention, not obsession, when you admire her without worshiping her, you become the man who gives her peace instead of pressure. And here's the beautiful truth. Once she feels seen by a man who doesn't lose himself in the process. 3. The fear of true rejection. Let me tell you something few men ever realize. A woman's deepest fear isn't heartbreak. It's rejection, especially by the man she truly wants. Let's go back to Armin's story. He met a woman named Layla, calm, mysterious, and full of quiet charm. She wasn't like the others. She didn't chase, didn't flirt openly, and never seemed desperate for attention. But every time he spoke to her, there was a softness in her eyes, that unspoken warmth you feel when someone is beginning to care, but is too scared to show it. They started talking more. Long conversations, shared laughter, deep silence that felt like comfort. Everything was perfect, until the moment it wasn't. One evening, after weeks of growing close, Armand decided to open up. He told her how much she meant to him. And just like that, she froze. Her tone changed. Her replies grew shorter. A few days later, she pulled away. Most men would think she wasn't interested. But the truth is, she was terrified. Marcus Aurelius once said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." And to a woman like Layla, expressing her feelings means stepping into truth, a truth that can hurt if it's not returned. See, when men get rejected, it stings their ego. But when a woman gets rejected by the man she truly wants, it shakes her entire sense of worth. Women invest emotionally before they ever confess it. They imagine what being with you would feel like, how your presence makes them feel safe. By the time she even considers showing you affection, she's already risked her heart in silence. So when she opens that door, even just a little, she's exposing something sacred. And if she senses that her feelings might not be matched, she retreats instantly. That's why some women act cold when they start liking you. They'll pretend they don't care, avoid deep talks, or even test you emotionally. It's their way of asking, "Can I trust you not to hurt me?" without actually saying it. Tell me, have you ever had a woman pull away right when things started feeling real? You probably thought she lost interest, but maybe she was protecting her heart from a pain she's felt before. The pain of giving too much and being left unseen. Marcus Aurelius taught, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed." Women try to live by this, but it's nearly impossible when emotions are involved. Because love for them isn't just a choice, it's surrender. A Stoic man understands this. He doesn't punish her silence or chase her approval. He remains steady, honest, grounded, patient. He creates safety not by words, but through consistency. When a woman realizes that you won't shame her for being vulnerable, that you won't disappear when she opens her heart, her fear begins to dissolve, and that's when true connection begins. 4. The battle between heart and logic. There's a war that happens. Inside almost every woman, a silent war between her heart and her logic. Let's return to Armin's story. After Layla came into his life, things became complicated. They had chemistry, the kind of connection that couldn't be faked. Every glance, every silence between them carried meaning. Yet one day she said something that left him stunned. "You're everything I've ever wanted, but I can't do this." He didn't understand. How could someone feel love and still walk away? But that's when he began to realize women often fight battles men can't see. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you." And yet for women, emotions always turn into something. See, when a woman loves, her heart takes over. It tells her he's different. He makes you feel alive. Don't lose him. But her logic, the part shaped by experience, pain and lessons learned, whispers back, "Be careful. Remember what happened last time." That's the battle. Her heart says yes, her mind says no. So she becomes distant one day and affectionate the next. One moment she says she misses you, and the next she pulls away for space. You think she's confused, but really she's at war with herself. Ask yourself, have you ever seen that look in her eyes? That mix of longing and fear? That's her heart wanting to trust you, but her logic screaming to protect herself. And here's the part most men get wrong. When she pulls away, they chase harder, argue, or pressure her into deciding. But a Stoic man, the kind Marcus Aurelius spoke of, knows that no one can win another's heart by force. He stays calm. He gives her space without resentment. He remains a symbol of peace while she battles her storm. Because deep down, every woman wants to see if your presence can quiet her conflict. Marcus Aurelius taught, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." When a woman is torn between love and logic, her thoughts are consumed by, what if? What if he's not who I think he is? What if I lose myself in this love? What if I get hurt again? These questions haunt her more than you know. But when she sees that your love is rooted in stability, why not chaos, her mind begins to relax. The battle between her heart and logic starts to fade, because she realizes something rare. With you, she doesn't have to choose between the two. A Stoic man doesn't demand emotional certainty. He simply embodies it. His calm energy shows her that love doesn't have to be dramatic to be real. And eventually, when her heart and logic finally agree, when she feels safe enough to let both coexist, and she'll stop running. Because the moment a woman realizes her emotions are safe in your presence, her love becomes unstoppable. That's the beauty of it, not in convincing her to stay, but in becoming the kind of man she can't find a reason to walk away from. 5. The fear of losing feminine power. Let's talk about something few men ever see. A woman's silent fear of losing her feminine power when she truly falls in love. Armand saw it happen with Layla. In the beginning, she was radiant, playful, teasing, confident. She knew her worth and her independence was magnetic. But as their bond deepened, something in her shifted. She began to hesitate before texting him first. She'd ask subtle questions like, "Do you still like me the same?" Or, "You've been quiet lately. Did I do something wrong?" The woman who once seemed unshakable was suddenly uncertain. And that's when Armand realized she wasn't afraid of him leaving. She was afraid of losing herself in the process of loving him. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." And her thoughts had turned from freedom to fear. See, when a woman starts to love a man deeply, she begins to invest emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Her heart starts to orbit around his presence. She feels his absence more than she admits. She begins to need him, not because she's weak, but because emotional connection is her natural state of being. But that emotional dependence, that surrender, scares her. Because in that surrender, she feels she might lose her feminine power. The power to walk away, to remain independent, to not care too much. So what does she do? She hides her vulnerability behind sarcasm or silence. She pretends she's busy when she's really waiting for your text. She might even start testing you, pulling away just to see if you'll follow. It's not manipulation. It's protection. She's asking herself silently, "Can I trust this man enough to let go of my armor?" You see, the world constantly tells women, never need a man. Society praises independence, and it should. But it also teaches women that needing someone equals weakness. So when a woman starts to feel deep emotional dependence, she feels torn between what she's been taught and what her heart desires. Marcus Aurelius, in his Stoic calmness, would remind us, "Accept whatever comes to you woven in the pattern of your destiny. For what could more aptly fit your needs?" A Stoic man doesn't take advantage of her surrender. He honors it. He creates an environment where she can be soft without losing strength, where her vulnerability isn't a liability but a bridge to trust. When she realizes she can love you and still be herself, her fear of losing feminine power dissolves. She discovers that real love doesn't drain her strength, it magnifies it. Because true femininity doesn't come from control or resistance. It comes from trust. And trust only blooms in the presence of a man who embodies peace. So if you ever see a strong woman begin to pull away just when she's falling for you, don't assume she's losing interest. Understand that she's fighting the fear of losing her power, the fear of becoming emotionally naked in front of you. Be still, be calm, be present. Show her through your steadiness that love doesn't have to mean losing herself. It can mean finding safety in someone who values both her strength and her softness. Because in the end, a woman's deepest fear is not falling in love. It's falling in love with someone who doesn't know what to do with her heart. And when she finds a stoic man who does, her fear turns into peace. And peace is the most feminine power of all. Understand them. Don't exploit them. Respond with calm, not chaos. And lead with strength that brings peace, not pressure. Because when you master yourself, everything, including love, begins to follow your direction. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.